Chelsea have just got to stop buying players. And players have got to stop signing for Chelsea.
This young, exciting team could be.
It's not a young and exciting team. You've bought João Felix, right? Tell me where he's going to play.
If they win today, they're in the title race. If they win today, they've just got to keep on hanging in there. Liverpool got a lot of football matches coming up.
After a loss to Manchester City on the opening day of the Premier League season, Chelsea emerged as a surprise potential contender for the Premier League title, with mainstream media constantly asking the question if they can go all the way during this campaign. Unfortunately for Chelsea fans, reality then kicked in, as they currently find themselves winless in 3, and with back-to-back losses in the Premier League putting into perspective what was the original goal for this season: to qualify for the UEFA Champions League. And in this video we will look at what the club should do to cement a top 4 finish. Chelsea went into the 24-25 season with 3 centre-forward options: Nicholas Jackson, Christopher Nkunku and Mark Guehi, with Jackson being the undisputed first choice. He joined last season from Villarreal and scored 14 league goals amidst intense scrutiny from the media for some high-profile misses early in that season. In this current one, he has silenced a lot of critics, recording some of the highest conversion rates in the Premier League, next to expert goal scorers like Mohamed Salah. With the conversation going from let's replace him with a big-money striker to do we keep him as first choice and sign a backup. Now, the Christopher Nkunku situation is disappointing because he is obviously a top player and was unfortunate to be injured for the majority of last season, and now having to deputize behind Jackson as the makeshift backup, because to me he's obviously not a striker. And with Palmer emerging as unchoppable in the 10 role, his near future is most likely away from Chelsea. Mark Guehi has done well in the Conference League, but at 18 he is rightfully not seen by Maresca as a viable option in the Premier League. Now, who should Chelsea sign to reinforce the centre-forward position? Let's take a look at 2 options, one on loan and one that would bear a transfer fee. Firstly, Randal Kolo Muani. The French international has fallen out of favour at PSG, not even making the matchday squad, as Luis Enrique has made it clear that he is not in his plans. The reason I believe this will be a good opportunity is because PSG seem to be open with loaning him with an option to buy, not obligation. There will be competition though, with various clubs interested, including sides in the Premier League such as Tottenham and Liverpool. Footballing wise, he is stylistically similar to Nico Jackson, in which he is very comfortable out wide with good dribbling, and he can link play, as Chelsea are a Nico Jackson injury away from lacking any focal point up front. Another opportunistic option is Jean-Philippe Mateta, who had a great end to his 23-24 season under Oliver Glasner. This might be a left field option, especially in January, as he is a key player for Crystal Palace, but per Transfermarkt his contract ends in June 2026. And this upcoming January window will be the highest amount they will be able to extract for him if he doesn't renew. With its value being estimated at around 20 million euros, he could be an ideal backup to Nico Jackson, since Clearlake and Todd Boehly took over Chelsea, and particularly when Clearlake and the sporting directors took control of operations. They have largely recruited younger players, and for the club to reach the next level, I believe they should not strictly follow that strategy, as it leads to the club missing out on some good opportunities. The midfield position is a bit more tricky, as it is an area where the club has already heavily invested in, but there is still a few holes in the squad. Moises Caicedo has silenced the critics of last season, emerging as arguably the best midfielder in the Premier League, rivaled by Liverpool's Gravenberch. After a shaky start to his Chelsea career, current Chelsea captain Enzo Fernandez has seen an explosion of goal contributions after a slow start to the season, and Romeo Lavia has shown glimpses of his immense talent when he has featured. When looking at this midfield, you see talented players, but there is one key issue currently, and that is balance, which is the hallmark of every top side. Defensively, Caicedo has been amazing, regularly popping up first in duels won and tackles made. in the statistics. But if he gets injured, there is no like-for-like replacement within the Chelsea squad. Some would say Romeo Lavia, but when viewing Lavia's skill set and weaknesses, he seems more suited to a role more further forward and not the one protecting the back line. Not to mention his ongoing injury issues since his arrival, which unfortunately has limited his involvement this season and placed more responsibility on Enzo and Caicedo. Another scenario in which a suitable defensive midfielder is needed is when you are trying to see out the last 15 minutes to protect a lead and collect 3 points. A great case study of Chelsea's inability to do this was during Chelsea's recent loss at home to Fulham. A game in which they were ahead at 75 minutes to only lose 2-1 after a late Muniz winner. Nkunku was the only sub made as Maresca showed distrust in the rest of the bench to impact the game. Fulham gained courage as Chelsea players tired, with Enzo Fernandez being easily bypassed during transitions. One could easily forget that Chelsea signed Keenan Dewsbury-Hall from Leicester City for 30 million, one of the most pointless signings made this season, as he has barely featured in the Premier League. The midfield solution for me is in-house, and it involves Chelsea recalling Leslie Ukuchukwu from his loan at Southampton, as he was barely even used under Russell Martin, who eventually got fired. I believe Ukuchukwu brings exactly what the squad is lacking in midfield, such as aerial dueling capacity, back four screening, and overall better defensive nous than all of our midfielders barring Caicedo. He can either deputize to rest the Ecuadorian or play alongside him to close out games. I believe he can even push to become a starter next to Caicedo, as he has a high ceiling and makes a lot of sense from a balance point of view. Andre Santos is another option to recall for our midfield, but he is having a fantastic season in Strasbourg, showcasing himself as one of the best midfield talents in Europe, ranking high for not only duels won but also goals scored for a midfielder. Therefore, I believe we should let him continue this momentum for the rest of the season and integrate Santos for the 2025 Club World Cup and 25-26 season. Despite links and rumors of bringing in a centre-back in January, the defence is one area where I believe the club should keep it as it is rather than going into the market this winter. Renato Veiga was signed as a left-back option, but once again rarely trusted with Premier League minutes, which speaks to Maresca's level of confidence in his rotation options. Tosin arrived on a free from Fulham and has been okay, even though I believe keeping Chalobah made more sense as cover for Wesley Fofana. Levi Colwill has had an impressive season, stepping up as a vocal member of the backline and making many impressive tackles and blocks. Before the winter window opened, Chelsea were linked to names like Benfica's Thomas Araujo, Ilya Sabani from Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest's Brazilian centre-back Murillo. But Chelsea have their own prodigious defensive talent that they should prioritise, and that is Josh Achampong. The youngster can also play right back and has featured there in the Conference League, as Reece James has been out with injury. And with Malo Gusto struggling this season, Premier League minutes should not be dismissed. For those who mention his inexperience as an issue, I like to point out when Jose Mourinho, a manager regularly criticized for his lack of trust in young players, providing significant minutes to a 19-year-old Rafael Varane of Real Madrid. Mourinho done the same with a young Kurt Zouma, who was part of his title-winning side in the 14-15 season, so Chelsea do not have any excuses. Even though Achampong got his debut at right back, he has all the traits to become an elite level centre back with great balance, footwork and ability on the ball. This is a player who has a higher ceiling than most centre backs that Chelsea can buy. Therefore, bringing in another centre back to an already stacked roster will only block the pathway from him receiving minutes and developing. They have given him the contract. Now it's time to provide the platform and trust the best academy of the past decade. While Chelsea are not under any significant pressure to reshuffle the squad after already investing a massive amount in 2+ years, there is still areas to strengthen to avoid being in a precarious position if key players get injured. And who knows, if they move diligently this January, they might continue to exceed expectations and shock the footballing world.